So you need to move your feet. Come and grab a handout. And if you want to do some colouring, there are some pencils as well. We can do that. Everybody move at once. Thanks, Dave. I need you to be first. Thank you. So one side is something to do with the sermon. The other side is something for you to colour, if you want to. Whenever the band's on, there's never enough lecterns, is there? So a couple of slides to go through, if that's okay. Slide number 1. Maria, welcome today. If you've not been here before, there are some cheat sheets on your chairs to let you know what we do and when. Cool. Click. If you haven't signed your kids in, it's far too late to do that now. Click. I think we've done eggs in the basket. Yep, click. Oh, Laura?
Someone said to me this morning that because Dave doesn't look in the mirror, people should be sponsoring me because I have to look at him all day. Millie took one look at him and just went, Beetlejuice. Anyway, you've been given one of these. So Dave is going to be humiliated all day. He may well also have to go to Sainsbury's and walk around Sainsbury's because we need some shopping, so I might send him. So if you are able to give any money to sponsor him for looking ridiculous, it's all going to charity. So it's for Marie Curie. We do like a little push for Marie Curie every single year, and we try and do something different. And this year, Dave thought he would do that. And apparently you're going to be a different colour next week, but only if you sponsor him. If you don't sponsor him, it'll just be Silver Fox like he normally is. So please give generously. There is a QR code if you understand that kind of thing. If you don't understand that kind of thing, then I'll happily take your money. So, yeah, thank you very much.
We're trying to raise at least £100. We're up to 30 at the moment. So if you can give to that, that's great. So if you still want to vote on a colour for next week, it's going to be orange, pink, yellow or purple. They were second in the line. So one of those, if you stick to one of those, not tartan, please. It does look a little bit like Rayleigh Vineyard blue, doesn't it? It looks like that blue at the back, so I'm quite pleased by that. It's not quite pure green. Right, click. If you have a prayer request, there is a pumpkin at the back. You can write your prayer requests and we will pray for you all week. Can we go straight to the Connect one? That's it, brilliant, thanks. And I want to play that video that says evangelism on it. Can we play that now? Yeah, thanks.
I remember back when I was in high school, I looked at people who shared their faith with others, and I thought, that's not for me, that's for strong Christians. I think lately on YouTube, there's some amazing evangelists who are really good at breaking down the gospel and sharing their faith. People like Cliff and Stuart Connectley and Ray Comfort. And while they do answer questions and preach really well, the danger is that evangelism to many believers may be something they watch as opposed to something they do. You see, evangelism, which simply means to proclaim the good news, is something that all Christians are called to do. And instead of being intimidated at the idea of sharing their faith, I think Christians should be encouraged to know that there's actually a lot of different ways to share God's love to the people around them. So in this video, I want to cover all the different types of evangelism, and we've organized all of them and placed them into 3 different categories: the core, the inner circle, and the outer circle. Where evangelism types in the core category are easier forms of evangelism, evangelism types in the inner circle are intermediate, and the types in the outer circle are advanced. If you read Acts chapter 1, verse 8, Jesus told his followers after he rose again that they shall receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon them, and that as a result, they'll be witnesses in Jerusalem, in Judea and Samaria, and to the end of the earth. So try to see the disciples' circle of influence expanding. They first started in their city, Jerusalem, then they progressed to witnessing to their region, Judea, and after, they influenced the region next to theirs, which was Samaria, and eventually they expanded to the ends of the earth or to the other surrounding nations. So the goal for this video is to try to get Christians today to expand their circles like the disciples did, and to try to reach more people for God through the progression we're about to lay out. So as we cover all these different types of evangelism, right now, remember that evangelism does mean to preach the gospel or the good news. And for sake of time, here's a quick picture of the gospel, and you can also find the text for it in the description below. So all that to say, this gospel must be tied to every evangelism type, so let's cover the first one. The core. Evangelism types in the core are typically easy, and they focus on bringing the gospel to people through your personal life. So core number 1, invitation evangelism. The first way you can be a witness to people is to simply invite someone you know to an event. So you can invite someone to your church, a Bible study, a baptism, or a church event like a camp or a retreat, a vacation Bible school, or a Christian concert. And this style of evangelism is very effective because it doesn't put all the pressure on you to say all the right things. And I do want to say that a ton of people have been saved this way, so it's more powerful than we realize. Next, we have core number 2, hobby evangelism. This next way you can be a witness to someone is to use a personal interest of yours to build a friendship with someone and to share the gospel with them at some point. And to do this, you can pursue your hobby and invite people to do it with you. And this could look like you playing music together, doing arts and crafts, or playing a game. And it can also look like you connecting with people at your gym, your spa or nail salon, or even with your barber or hairstylist. And what should happen here is a friendship being built, and as it's growing, you can share your belief in God and explain the gospel. Next, we have core number 3, sports evangelism. This type of evangelism witnesses to people through the sports you play. And it would focus on you being a good witness while you play your sport or work out. And this can look like a lot of things. Maybe you praying before a game, you helping your teammates get better, or you sharing your beliefs to the people in your community. Next, we have core number 4, home evangelism. Simply put, this is done by inviting people to your home and sharing the gospel there. And this is great because it's casual and you can bring people close by inviting them to barbecues, birthday parties, or holiday gatherings or dinners. And there you could bring up the gospel naturally during a conversation, or you could even bring it up during a toast or when you pray for the meal. Next, we have core number 5, friendship evangelism. So this type of witnessing is like hobby evangelism, but it essentially is witnessing to people by building a friendship with them and first building trust. So you can make friends at school or work, and as that friendship is being grown and trust is built, you can then share the gospel with them. Be careful though, because some believers can be successful in being friends with people, but fail to share the gospel with them. And the reason why is because sharing the gospel can feel uncomfortable for people, and they'll put it off and just be fine with the way things are. And finally, there's core number 6, family evangelism, where you focus on sharing the gospel with your unsaved family members, whether they're immediate family or extended. And there's multiple ways it should be done. You can pray for them, you could be a strong witness to them by apologizing when you're wrong, or by admitting your faults, or you could extend help if they need it. I'd say the focus of this type of evangelism is to do your best to be an example of Jesus to your family and to share the gospel with them when you have an opportunity.
Right, lots of ideas there. Lots of ways that probably either turned you off or turned you on to evangelism and talking to other people. You either thought that was really, really good, or you thought, I'm not going to do any of those. The good news is that's only a third of the effectiveness of evangelism methods that are actually working in 2026 today. So only probably a third of ways to evangelize people and to share your faith with people, that probably covers a third. The good news is for us as a church, as a nation, is that in the UK today, the other 2/3 is covered by a third giving a Bible to somebody and inviting them to read it. That's a third of people coming to the Lord at the moment are reading their Bibles and becoming Christians. The other third is for people that are invited to church. Now, he didn't mention church, although he mentioned like soft events. If you invite someone to church, a third of people are becoming Christians by being invited to church by a friend, and they become a Christian in the next few weeks. So that's only a third. If you're thinking, I can't do any of that, that's well beyond me, I don't say boo to a goose, no problem at all. If you do like that, then fine, you can do that, and it's fantastic. Use all those methods. But if you don't worry about it, because there's 2 very, very easy ways. And there's a lot more I'm going to go through today, because we're now on the 3rd leg of our stool. Slide next. I don't know what number it is. Sorry, guys. There we go. Thank you. So we talked about the 3-legged stool, the Connect 3, the 3 words we were looking at. the stool, a three-legged stool, is equally supported on all sides, hence the 3 legs, and it stands up properly. Can I actually move that? Is that all right to move that? Yeah, I don't know where to, but because it's kind of on my spot. Lovely, thank you. Cool. A 3-legged stool will stand upright. A 2-legged stool won't. The faithful life, as it says up there on the right-hand side, the faithful life requires all 3. Each of us will thrive more in 1 or maybe 2 of those 3, but the 3rd one might need some work. And I'm probably guessing for most of us, the one that needs most work is probably outreach, evangelism, community, reaching out to people beyond these 4 walls. It's lovely being here on a Sunday morning. It's lovely doing church, but we also need to go out there for the rest of the, however, 167 hours of the week to actually say, we are normal, we are Christians, we've got a fantastic gift, why don't you join us? So we talked about the Bible being very, very crucial. Sorry, next slide. The Bible, Connect 2, we started off with that. No, we started off with prayer, didn't we? We did the Bible, talked about how important that was and how the Bible connects us with the wisdom from the past, the wisdom that informs us, infuses us, invigorates us 2,000 years ago. We looked at prayer, which was the present, about we can actually connect with God today, connecting with him here and now, today and every day. We can talk to God. We've done those 2. We've done the Bible. We've done prayer. The 3rd one today we're looking at is community. Community, outreach, looking outwards, evangelism, sharing with others, witness. Whichever one of those words makes you feel least uncomfortable, use that word. The Bible very clearly tells us in a number of places to love your neighbour as you love yourself. Now, I'm a mathematician at heart. We have lots of discussions, shall I say? That's the pleasant word in our house about the difference between colours and numbers and the importance of those 2. But I'm in my head, I'm always thinking numbers. So if I'm at a level crossing and a train goes past, I can tell you how many carriages because I would just count them in my head without even realising it. That's how sad I am. But this particular verse, love your neighbour as you love yourself, it's the 50% rule. So I've got 100% of my love to give, and it says if I've got equal amounts to love me and love my neighbour, I've got to divide that 50-50, yeah? That's what my mind's thinking. 50% me, 50% to others. Now, I get very, very nowhere near that during the week. It's more like 85% me and maybe 50% if the rest of the world is lucky. But it should be 50-50, equal measures. And that's the important thing to say that. We're looking at, if I'm in church for an hour talking about Jesus, I need to go outside and talk for an hour about Jesus to other people, that kind of thing. But we need all 3 to function. Bible, prayer, community. Click. Imagine this is all in a barrel. So that they're frothing up, that beer in the barrel is my love. My barrel is full of beer. It's full of lovely, lovely beer, loving, whatever you want to call that. And it stood up on its end, and the barrel holds itself in perfect tension. So you've got the staves coming down, which is the wooden bit. You've got the rings going round, but hold it together, and it pushes out, and it pulls itself in, and the beer stays sealed in the middle. All the staves go right up from the bottom all the way to the top of the barrel, so you can fill the barrel. Now, click. Imagine one of the staves is missing or broken or not quite long enough. Maybe we've run out of wood. The barrel has a limited capacity. See where I'm going with this? I think you're probably ahead of me in this one, yeah? What I'm going to say next, yeah? The rule of 3. So if one of those 3 we're looking at, so Bible, prayer, community, one of those 3 isn't quite working for us, isn't quite part of our day-to-day routine, then we're only a certain amount full. The Holy Spirit can only fill us up a certain amount. So Bible, prayer, community. Bible, prayer, witnessing. Bible, prayer, evangelism. However you want to look at that. And it's the rule of 3. Now this is actually a rule, apparently, that someone's talked about. Grouping items together in 3s. This is why we're doing this Connect 3. We're doing items together in 3s. Makes them memorable, makes them satisfying, makes them effective. There's something in our mind that likes things in threes. So things like the Trinity, three gods in one. I was thinking, how would it be different if there were only two gods? Imagine one of them didn't exist. There's only two gods. How would that affect how we feel about God? And I'm not entirely sure the answer to that question, but I do think it will make it like a lesson that there's only two gods. The fact that there's three means it's almost like a safe circle, a safe triangle. We have lots of things that are in threes. So a triangle is things in threes. It's the smallest amount of sides you can have in a shape, triangle. Three Little Pigs, lots of stories have three characters in them. Liberté, égalité, fraternité is, anyone know that phrase? French, yeah, it's a French national whatever. Liberté, égalité, fraternité. What came out of the French Revolution 250 years ago? Faster, higher, stronger. You know whose motto that is? Olympics. Faster, higher, stronger. So 3 words. Veni, vidi, vici. I came, I saw, I conquered. Stop, drop, and roll. That's how kids learn how to. If kids are ever on fire, you learn how they can not be on fire. Easy remembered. Basic tools. Simply grasped. And we go into slogans. Snap, crackle, and pop. It just kind of rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Stop, look, listen. Work, rest, play, for those of you that are older than me, is a Mars bar. Yes. See it, say it, sorted. If you're on the underground, yeah? An Englishman, an Irishman, and a Scotsman. We like things in threes, yeah? I've got a joke about that. An Englishman, a Scotsman, and an Irishman were on their way to heaven. God told them the stairway to heaven was 1,000 steps. And on every 5th step, he'd tell them a joke. So we got 5 steps, 10 steps. But they were not to laugh or else they couldn't enter heaven. No idea why, but the Englishman went first and started laughing on the 65th step, so he couldn't enter heaven. The Scot went next and started laughing on the 320th step, so he couldn't enter heaven either. Then it was the Irishman's turn. Try not to be racist here. When he got to the 995th step, he started laughing. Why are you laughing? God asked. I didn't tell a joke. I know, Paddy replied. Sorry. I just got the first joke. So, next slide. There we go. Lovely. Thanks. So, Bible, prayer, witness, whatever word you want to insert there. I'm not quite sure which word I would use there because some words come across as religious. Some words don't really kind of like have the thoughts that we want to attach to them. So I want you to choose your own word for the third one. And it could be any one of those: community, evangelism, witness, whatever you think is really appropriate to that. If one of the 3 staves is broken or shorter or neglected, that's where the Holy Spirit will leak out of your life. That's not a biblical thing. That's a Rayleigh Vineyard 2026 thing. This is what we feel God is saying to us. As a church, God has instructed us to watch all 3. We've done loads of Bible stuff. Hopefully you're into the Bible more than you were January the 1st. Same with prayer. There's prayer all over the church. There's a prayer meeting on Wednesday. There's prayer pods all over the place. There's a pumpkin at the back. And I'm hoping your personal prayers are changing because of that. But we should measure all 3. Check the length and the strength of all 3. And today we're looking at witness, as you saw from the video, or outreach, or community involvement, or evangelism, or church without walls, whatever you want to call that. What do you feel most comfortable? Let's look at the Bible, shall we? Click. This is what Peter says, one of the world's greatest ever evangelists. Be ready to speak up and tell anyone who asks why you're living the way you are, and always with the utmost courtesy. Be ready to speak up with courtesy, anybody that asks you. Peter, one of the world's greatest evangelists, the first pope, first out of the boat, the only other person in the entirety of history, other than Jesus, to ever walk on water. He advises us, and so we listen to what he's going to say, be ready to speak up and tell anyone. He's gone through this. He knows how it works. He says, be ready and speak up to tell anyone who asks why you're living the way you are, always with courtesy. So, click. Let's look at some of that, shall we? How do we do that? How do we... Is that going to come up? Lovely, thanks, Tim. I just want to shout out to the media guys today. You've done a fantastic job, by the way. I would have completely crumbled by now. You guys are brilliant, so thank you for that. Really appreciate that. Doing a great job. Peter may have been the first Boy Scout. Who knows? Boy Scouts come prepared, ever ready. Ready for what? What are Boy Scouts ready for? Essential skills, character development, leadership, always be prepared. They're trained to handle emergencies, thrive in the outdoors, act ethically, and lead in their communities. Lots of things Boy Scouts are known for, bobber job and all that kind of stuff. But they are prepared, they are trained. You go along to the club, you train all these things, you get your badges to prove that you've actually done that training. Peter says, be prepared to be a Christian outside the church. Revise. Work out what you're going to say when someone asks you, because they will ask you. Someone at some stage in your life will ask you, why on earth do you do that? Why have you got green hair today, Dave? What is going on there? What a weirdo. Millie currently is revising madly for her A-level. She actually had her first A-level on Friday, and she was really, really sick going into the day. Really, really hard. But she's preparing. She's madly preparing and revising for her A-levels and doing fantastically. Be ready when someone asks you on a Monday morning, so what did you get up to the weekend then? What's your initial response to that? Do you say, oh, I did a bit of shopping Saturday, watched Strictly on Sunday? Or do you say, oh, I went to church yesterday. Oh, it was absolutely brilliant. You know that nutty pastor, he dyed his hair green. Why did he do that? Enter the gospel. Or, Monday morning, why are you so happy today? What would your response be? Because someone's going to say it eventually along the line. Someone's going to notice that you're a Christian because now you act differently to the way you did before you became a Christian. What are you going to say? So we plan ahead. We work out what we're going to say ahead of time. For example, the matchstick message. I'm sure a lot of you may have done this already before, but the idea is to strike a match. This is a long match, but it should be a half one, really. So the time it takes for that match to burn to the end and burn my fingers, that's how long I've got, roughly speaking, in today's society, to actually talk about my message of hope for people, yeah? So what is my personal gospel message? So gives me about 15 to 20 seconds on a normal match. This is a long one, as I say, so I'm not going to go out in a minute, but look at it. So I would say, I used to get very dark periods of depression. I remember about 30 years ago feeling really suicidal. So I prayed God would lead me to somebody that could help me, and he introduced me to a counsellor who unravelled my entire childhood. Thanks, Dave. Thank you. You obviously know where that's heading. That will be my testimony. I was on the verge of killing myself 30 years ago, and I didn't because God rescued me. And it was a very, very clear rescued me. I remember it was this time of year, and I remember going to counselling, and it was February, middle of February, and it's one of those really early springs. All the flowers were up, and I felt alive for the first time in my life because God had helped me sort out what had gone wrong in my childhood with this lovely lady who'd helped me, who counselled me. Now I find God brings me people who have similar emotional, excuse the word, constipation. So if somebody is kind of bound up inside, I find that God generally brings them to me, and there's something about them that get attracted to me. Then I give that message, or I say something similar. I say, oh, so why are you struggling with that? That's what we call a matchstick message. You'd also might have heard of it as an elevator pitch. So if you got into a lift with somebody and you're going up, say, from the ground floor to the 8th floor, you've got, again, about 15, 20 seconds to give their pitch to that person. If you ever watch Dragon's Den, they do that pitch, don't they, where they talk about, I'm asking for £50,000 for 10% input, 10% return, and I'm going to do this, this, and this. This is my product. So it's that kind of thing. You've got 15, 20 seconds. And if that's somebody like one of the dragons in the dragon's den, you've only got their attention for 20 seconds. They're not going to listen to anything else after that. And you've got to really sell it in that sense. That's partly what the gospel is. He's selling it for 20 seconds to somebody. So the elevator pitch. What would you say in 20 seconds about your time? It could be something that happened last week. It could be the reason why I go to church today. It could be, I met an angel on a beach once. It could be, I had this dream about such and such and it happened the following day. Or I went to this church and someone gave me this prophetic word and it completely changed my life. Or something else happened. Like you look through the Bible and there's so many different ways to come to God. What is your way that God brought you to him? What is it that changed your life so dramatically that other people would want to know about that? Why are you so happy today? Oh, well, actually, I went to church yesterday and it was so good. It was so fun. We have to see words as events. So all the stuff you speak can be future events and should be future events. If I keep telling my kids, they're not kids anymore. They're going to both be adults by the end of the year. But I call them kids. If I keep telling my kids, you're useless, you'll amount to nothing, why can you ever get it right? Part of them would believe that. Even if they were really robust and, didn't hang on to those things, it would hang over them because their dad always said to them, what a useless waste of skin you are. My words will become their future. That's what words do. Words are, they're all prophetic in that sense. Your words become something for the future. But it also works the other way. If I encourage my kids, if I point out their good traits, if I cheerlead them, if I stand in their grandstand and cheer when they're on the field of life, I could give them prophetic words, highlighting stuff that they do well. It's going to be good for them in the future. Those words become prophetic events of the future. All these types of words, so the kind words, bring other people nearer to God. All the negative words also pull us away from God. So our words today are future events for tomorrow and the rest of eternity. That's really what prophecy is. Prophecy is lots of things we say we don't even realise are prophetic words in that sense. Click. Two types of Christians. This is a very, very big generalization, but we have people like Paul, who are the evangelists, natural-born evangelists. They talk all the time about their life, what they have for breakfast, who they're going out with, what's their favourite film is, what the next best song that's coming out. And also, if they're Christians, they talk about Jesus. Some people just cough and their friend becomes a Christian. The friend turns to Jesus. I find that so frustrating, and I have to bless those people and say, that's not me, Lord. I'm a different kind of person. But others are not so sharp in this area. Your reaction to that video played will tell you exactly who you are. Did you have a positive response, or did you think, that's so much pressure? So are you a Paul or are you a James? James is the pastor. James was the leader of the church in Jerusalem. He stayed exactly where he was. So when the disciples were told to preach the word in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, ends of the earth, James just did the first one because James was a pastor. I'm not sure, is he the brother of Jesus? I'm not exactly sure whether he was the brother of Jesus or the other James, but pardon my lack of theology there. But James says, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God who gives generously. James was about the wisdom in the church. Paul was about how far can I go to preach the gospel? What's the furthest I can go? In those days it was Rome. He was always trying to get to Rome, and eventually he did. Sometimes in the church it's catch them and clean them when it comes to catching fish. I will make you fishers of men. We need to catch the fish. We need people who can catch the fish, people who can bring them in, and people who can clean them when they're here. Sometimes it's the same person, you can do both, but mostly it's generally one or the other. We need to catch the fish, we need to clean them, and then you need someone to cook them as well, to make sure that they stay a Christian and they belong. And that needs teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. We are all called to witness, whether you like it or not, whether you're brilliant at it or not. We are all called to witness because you would do that anyway. You will shine out something whether you're aware of it or not. To let our lives show others exactly who Jesus is, to be a walking advert, a sandwich board for Jesus, if you like. Christianity can be described as one beggar showing another beggar where to find food. It's as simple as that. Or you could say it's like somebody winning the lottery and sharing it amongst all their friends. You've got such a precious gift. If you're a beggar, all you want is food. You found food. Come over here. I've got food over here. Quick, come and share this. Come over here. I've met Jesus. Come and share this. Right, on your sheets, you should have a sheet on your chair. On the back of your sheets, you can do some colouring if you want to. There are some pens down the front. There's either a picture of Zacchaeus, one of the greatest evangelistic stories in the Bible, or there's a picture of the lost sheep, which is another one. You can colour that if you want to, but on the front, you've got, click, this grid, the art of neighbouring. This is another exercise you can do. It's one of those ones, if we're talking about being prepared, this looks at where you're at and who's around you. So if you think about you in your house, I'm assuming you're in like either a housing estate or on a street or something, and you've got a house that side, you've got a house that side, you've got 3 houses behind you in another street, and you've got 3 houses in front of you. So apart from you, there's 8 houses around. So the idea of this, just from the house point of view alone, is what do you know about the people around you? First of all, what are their names? Now I know 3 names of my neighbours. That's how bad I am at this. So I know Steve and Helen next door, and I know Neil over the road. That's all I know of my neighbours. I know I am on a nodding kind of like acquaintance agreement with other people that I see. So the lady next door to me runs the corner shop down the road. I've been talking to the lady for 20 years now, and I've never asked her what her name is. That's how much I'm into this. But if you think about, so A is, what are the names of those 8 neighbours? Or, if you work in an office, what are the names of the 8 people around you? That's probably easier. Or if you're in a school, what are the names, or college, what are the names of the 8 people that sit around you? Or wherever you go, to your gym or to your club or whatever you do, what are the names of the 8 people that surround you in that sense? Is it the same people all the time? With neighbouring, it is. It's always the people because they're not going to move. With something else, it might be something slightly different. So what are their names? The front 3, one either side, and the 3 behind you. Secondly, what do you know about that person? What do you know about that person? So, do they have kids? Do they work in the city? Do you know anything about their family circumstances? Are they noisy? Are they extrovert? Are they introvert? Those kind of things. What do you know about them? So the guy, if I'm facing my street, the guy over here, Neil, he's the son of Anne, who comes to work in Grow Baby. When we moved into our house, he did all the electrics in our house. I've spoken to Neil 3 times in 12 years we've been in our house, 13 years. 3 times at length. I even asked if I could. So someone came to our house once, and they wanted to build one of those outhouses down the end of like a cabin down the end of the garden. And I knew Neil had just built one. So I said, "Oh, can I just get my friend to come in and look at what you've done?" And he was fine with it. It's fantastic. But what do you know about your other neighbours? And the third one is, what do you really know about them? What do you know about their needs, about what they're struggling with? So the guys next door to us, I'm hoping that's not going to be we're in a confidence, but they've got 2 kids around about the same age as ours. One of them, Laura, teaches in Fitz. The other one doesn't live there anymore, and I have no idea why he's not there anymore. I think something strange has happened. I think something weird went on a couple of years ago, but I've never actually asked my neighbour what actually happened with the older one, why he doesn't live there. He could have gone to university, could have been totally fine, but I think something strange happened, and now, because it's never mentioned, the guy's never mentioned, I don't know if he's still, if he's still talking to them, a bit like the Beckhams, I don't know if he's still talking to them or not, that kind of thing. But so that's a deeper thing that I know. They may be hurting because of that, yeah? So the guys on this side, the lady who runs the corner shop, her and her husband run the corner shop, I can imagine by their appearance, they're probably from southern India, so probably from like a local community point of view, they're probably going to get to know many people around the community, so I could actually get to know them, befriend them, that kind of thing. So there are ways to work out, you can get ready, but who do you know around your situation? Who do you know that when you're actually going out? Who do you know out and about in your college, in your workplace? What are they doing? What do you know about them? What do you really know about them? And if you're prophetic, what are you picking up about them that they might need to hear from God? So we talked about the 3 ways to evangelize. The video at the start about befriending somebody. The other 2 about Bible and about bringing them to church. How are you preparing to one day maybe cross one of those bridges? Because 66% of the time people come to church from reading their Bible or being invited to church. And I think it's now a third of the people who are not church linked, a third of the country that don't come to church will be perfectly happy to come to church if somebody invited them. That is a huge number of people. We are in the millions for that. There's millions of people in this country that will go to church if they were invited, if somebody just invited them. That's how easy evangelism can be. So long words, ignore those, or the ones you don't understand, don't worry about that. Just think about what that person is close to you, what that link is. Can you just give them a Bible? Can you just invite them to church? What can you do to change that? I'm just going to finish with one more point, then we're going to pray, one quick point. And that is, you're thinking to yourself, maybe I'm not very good with words, Dave. I'm not very out there. I'm not very, I'm not very extrovert. I was very much in this boat when I was first became a Christian. I had lots of kind of energy to evangelize, but had no idea how to share my faith. So what I did was I said to God, you've got to bring them to me, Lord. I want you to bring those people to me. So I picked 2 or 3 people while I was working down in East End of London, and I said, I want those 3 people to come to me and talk to me. Now that was a prayer that I prayed about 11:50 on a weekday, and 12 o'clock I'd always go around to the canteen for my lunch. So 10 minutes talking about, 10 minutes. I went round to the canteen, and one of those 3 guys came and sat in front of me and said, so what's that about Noah's Ark then? What's that all about? Well, that sounds such a ridiculous story. That was within 10 minutes of praying that prayer, totally sidestepped that whole thing about, I can't talk to people. Only Moses in the Bible, I stutter, I can't talk to people. Go send someone else, Lord. No, God says, okay, I'll bring them to you. Very easy prayer to pray. So I'm pretty much saying to all of you, everybody can do this. Everybody can play. We've got Brick Church next week. We've got Easter Sunday, 2 weeks' time. That is the biggest date in the church, the biggest event we could possibly do. Loads of people come to church once a year on Easter Sunday. Why not invite them? Why not find a reason to bring along? We've got the Easter parties this week. We've got Lego party. We've got soft play party. We've got Brick Church on Sunday. We've got Easter Sunday. We've got loads of things coming, loads of events you can invite them to. Why don't you try and think about some of the people around you who God wants to bless? Right, let's pray, shall we? Let's see what the Holy Spirit wants to say to us.